Christe, benedicimus tibi, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum. Take this cup filled with, take this cup filled with suffering, take this cup away from thee, from thee, set thee free. This cup filled with suffering, this cup away from me, set me free. This cup away from, take this cup away from me. Take this cup filled with suffering, take this cup away from, set me free, set me free. Take this cup away from, take this cup away from, take this cup away from me. We adore you, Jesus Christ, and we bless your holy name. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing.
From of old I knew how you would sell me. Still I loved you, called you my own, bared my heart, my plans, the mechanisms of all the locks, walked over hills and cities, to you across waters, right into the upper room, the center of all. Towel round my waist, I knelt to rinse your feet, dipped hands in the same bowl, while we broke bread for the last time in this house. Already your eyes were turned away, your ears full of reasons, schemes, the clink of lucre heavy in your palm. Here we are, knowing ahead of time, hasn't eased the ordeal. You climb the hill, flanked by iron and steel. This parting will take my breath away. Judas, chosen brother, why, iron Valentine, is the stamp of your lips practice for the coming tide of pain? One last gift to remember you by? Judas, for you I'll take it. Wear this badge as I walk up that weary hill, with your kiss, last touch on my living body from you 12. You tried to steal what I've already marked as yours. Judas, for you I'll give hands and feet, my mouth, my heart, my side, my last breath. Watch them lift me up, and I'll win for you what you could never trade, nor steal, nor give for.
Adoramus te, Christe, benedicimus tibi, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum.
It seems like the moon is missing tonight. There's a clanking of keys in the iron gate, cacophony of voices clamor in the courtyard here in the home of Caiaphas the priest. Benches are dragged across the stone, flame is quickly set in sconces, servants sweep away the grit and dust in the darkness of this unnatural night. The priest himself has preordained the scene, for soon assembles a special seating of the court, the Sanhedrin, in judgment of a dangerous man, a rumored heretic. The goal tonight is to expose the truth. The goal tonight is to administer justice in the case of one Yeshua ben Yosef, who some call Messiah, named heir to the king. Truth and justice. Justice and truth considered tonight by these bearded elders who somberly now file into their places in semicircle focused on the makeshift docket. There, silently in the center of the light, shackled and weary, stands the accused. Caiaphas raises a hand for silence, and the court of condemnation begins. And condemnation will soon be the outcome. There is judicial bias here. Impartiality will not prevail, for the court itself stands as accuser, judge, and jury. Truth and justice? Justice and truth? There will be no truth, but there will be testimony. Informants have been secured and paid. The usual suspects have been assembled, their stories rehearsed, the details fabricated. Truth and justice. Justice and truth. There will be no justice, but there will be judgment. The rule of court has been abandoned, for the court itself stands to benefit from the elimination of a challenge to its authority. The court has seen the cheering crowds, the Galileans who follow this man, who gather in throngs outside on the hillsides. They fear the numbers, the poll of public opinion. So the witnesses bear their false witness, and the prosecution delivers only condemnation. No one stands to represent the accused. No defense, no cross-examination is allowed. Truth and justice. Justice and truth. There will be no truth or justice tonight. The inevitable sentence will be passed, and yet the accused, Yeshua ben Yosef, says little. He seems resigned to accept his fate. Caiaphas raises a simple question, one chance for the prisoner to speak. Are you then this Messiah, this King of Jews? And Yeshua answers, You have said that I am. Speaking truth to justice. Yet justice will prevail over truth. Satisfied that the accused has provided proof of his intent to raise insurrection, the Sanhedrin summarily declare him guilty and remand him to the dispensation of a higher court, for this court has no power to put him to death. Capital offenses are the province of Rome. The prisoner's fate is cast upon Pilate to sign the needed writ of execution. So, what then is truth? What then is justice? Had the court examined the evidence, consulted the prophecies, had it investigated the claims of witchcraft and found them to be miracles instead, would it have ruled the same in this case? The man on trial only confirmed a statement he knew to be true. But the court had its public show and declared its version of justice. Justice that denied the truth. Truth subdued by injustice.
We adore you. We adore you, Jesus Christ, and we bless your holy name. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing.
A reading from the book of Matthew. Peter was sitting in the courtyard when one of the serving girls came over to him and said, You too were with Jesus the Galilean. He denied it in front of everyone. I do not know what you are talking about. Then he went out to the gate, and another girl saw him and said to those nearby, This man was with Jesus the Nazarene. Again he denied it with an oath. I do not know the man. A little later, some bystanders came over to Peter and said, You are certainly one of them. Even your accent gives you away. At that he began cursing and swore, I do not even know the man. Just then a cock began to crow, and Peter remembered the prediction Jesus had made. Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. He went out and began to weep bitterly.
Adoramus te, Christe, benedicimus tibi, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum.
Early the next morning, all the leading priests and elders of the people decided that Jesus should die. They tied him, led him away, and turned him over to Pilate, the governor. Judas, the one who had given Jesus to his enemies, saw that they had decided to kill Jesus. Then he was very sorry for what he had done. So he took the 30 silver coins back to the priests and the leaders, saying, I sinned. I handed over to you an innocent man. The leaders answered, What is that to us? That's your problem, not ours. So Judas threw the money into the temple. Then he went off and hanged himself. The leading priests picked up the silver coins in the temple and said, Our law does not allow us to keep this money within the temple, because it is paid for a man's death. So they decided to use the coins to buy Potter's Field as a place to bury strangers who died in Jerusalem. That is why the field is still called the Field of Blood. So what Jeremiah the prophet has said came true. They took 30 silver coins. That is how little the Israelites thought he was worth. They used those 30 silver coins to buy the Potter's Field, as the Lord commanded me. Jesus stood before Pilate the governor, and Pilate asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? Jesus answered, Those are your words. When the leading priests and the elders accused Jesus, he said nothing. So Pilate said to Jesus, Don't you hear them accusing you of all these things? But Jesus said nothing in answer to Pilate, and Pilate was very surprised at this. Every year at the time of Passover, the governor would free one prisoner from whom the people chose. At that time there was a man in prison named Barabbas, who was known to be very bad. When the people gathered at Pilate's house, Pilate said, Whom do you want me to set free, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Christ? Pilate knew that they turned Jesus into him because they were jealous. While Pilate was sitting there on the judge's seat, his wife sent this message to him, Don't do anything to that man, because he is innocent. Today I had a dream about him, and it troubled me very much. But the leading priests and elders convinced the crowd to ask for Barabbas to be freed and for Jesus to be killed. Pilate said, I have Barabbas and Jesus. Which do you want me to set free for you? The people answered, Barabbas. Pilate asked, So what should I do with Jesus, the one called the Christ? They all answered, Crucify him. Pilate asked, Why? What wrong has he done? But they shouted louder, Crucify him! Crucify him! When Pilate saw that he could do nothing about this and that a riot was starting, he took some water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. Then he said, I am not guilty of this man's death. You are the ones who are causing it. All the people answered, We and our children will be responsible for his death. Then he set Barabbas free, but Jesus was beaten with whips and handed over to the soldiers to be crucified. The governor's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's palace, and they all gathered around him. They took off his clothes and put a red robe on him. Using thorny branches, they made a crown, put it on his head, and put a stick in his right hand. Then the soldiers bowed before Jesus and made fun of him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! They spat on Jesus. Then they took his stick and began to beat him on the head. After they finished, the soldiers took off the robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified.
We adore you. We adore you, Jesus Christ, and we bless your holy name. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing.
You came not as a king, but as a lover. not a thief, a giver. Intent on healing, you were scourged. Sincere, you were mocked. Clothed only with human skin, humility, Nazareth garb, you were stripped naked, cruelly crowned. Dear bridegroom, lover of Israel, we kneel sincerely, though they did not. We kiss you where they spat, and give you the place of honor. Prepare in us hearts to share your cross. Join your work. Wed our hearts to yours. Amen.
Adoramus te, Christe, benedicimus tibi, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum.
Down the Via Dolorosa in Jerusalem that day, the soldiers tried to clear the narrow street, but the crowd pressed in to see the man condemned to die on Calvary. Oh, he was bleeding from a beating, there were stripes upon his back, and he wore a crown of thorns upon his head, and he bore with every step the scorn of those who cried out for his death. Down the Via Dolorosa, called the way of suffering, like a lamb came the Messiah, Christ the King. But he chose to walk that road out of his love for you and me. Down the Via Dolorosa all the way to Calvary. The blood that would cleanse the souls of all men made its way into the heart of Jerusalem. Ah, down the Via Dolorosa, called the way of suffering, like a lamb came the Messiah, Christ the King. But he chose to walk that road out of his love for you and me. Down the Via Dolorosa all the way to Calvary.
We adore you. We adore you, Jesus Christ, and and we bless your holy name. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing.
Okay, we're in position.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Adonai. quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum. We adore you, Jesus Christ, and we bless your holy name. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing.
Hello everyone, it's Joy Shegsted, and I am doing Station 4, Jesus Meets His Mother, or Mother Mary. I have many pieces of art featuring the Virgin Mary in them, and having them in my house has helped me reflect on who she was as a person. So being able to look at them every day and understand more, seeing in her a person of submission, incredible grace, also grief, compassion, and many other qualities. So I was going to show you some of these pieces of art, none of which I have made. I purchased these. And then I'll end with an image from Mexico of Jesus, Mary at the cross with Jesus. This is a small piece of French porcelain. So this is Saint Anne. She's holding the Virgin Mary's hand, and Mary is holding a book. So I think this piece is probably about 100 years old, maybe a little older. But I like that she's holding a book, so I think implying that she was studying the scriptures. This is a traditional Greek representation of the Annunciation. I like it because the angel looks a little athletic. He's really proclaiming this to Mary. She looks a little taken aback, like she's wondering. So that's what I get out of this one when I look at it. A couple pieces here that are of mother and child. So Mary here is depicted as the queen. And this is a piece by our artist friend B.J. Christopherson. And it's an old image of mother and child. She's dark-haired, which isn't the case in all artwork of Mary. And I like that there are some kind of modern touches to it. It almost looks like 1950s wallpaper or something, making this story seem very contemporary, which it is. This is another piece of art about mother and child, also by B.J. Christopherson. So Mary and Jesus are pictured in a ship. It's a 3D piece. And put it on the table and see if I can get it better. I think you can see it better here. Not as much reflection. The words across the top are backwards, and they're in another language, so I'm not sure they're critical to understanding this, but here's another piece of mother and child. I think this is by a local iconographer, so a more contemporary take on this pose. So that the features of both Mary and Jesus are softer. You can see the love on their faces and in their eyes. And it looks like the background is Middle Eastern. For many of the mother and child images, the background looks more like cities in Europe. This is a Our Lady of Carmen. I bought this piece from Charles Carrillo, who works out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. So this is the vision of the Virgin that was seen by the Carmelites, the Order of Carmelites, in the Holy Land, on Mount Carmel near Haifa. So they feel that she is, the Virgin Mary is the ideal in her prayer life and in her devotion to God. So this image is all about Mary's inner devotion to God. She's also known as the Brown Virgin, so hence the brown clothes. She's giving out scapulars. Here's a Guatemalan santo, hand-carved santo. Mary's in a position of prayer, so I think about how she must have had an incredible life of prayer, and still does. She's in heaven with God. And I have a number of images of the Virgin of Guadalupe, and you've probably seen this. So I've learned a lot more about her in the last year or two. I went to Mexico and I collect Mexican art. So this is a reproduction of the actual image. Juan Diego saw this. He was a member of an indigenous group in Mexico, and the Virgin appeared to him in this image. Appeared to him 4 different times, and this image was embossed on his cloak. So the cloak is in a cathedral in Mexico at the place where he saw the image. I like this one a lot because she spoke to him in his native indigenous language, Nahuatl. I think that's how you say it. She has brown skin, and she has some symbolism here that's typical of the indigenous culture. So some think that this crescent is a symbol of a pagan god, a god that they worshipped in their culture. And the black sash that is tied in front is also cultural, and that's an indication of being pregnant. So people say this is one of the only images of Mary when she's pregnant. So I like this because to me it's saying This religion, Christianity, is for everyone, and God sees all of us. So these are two pieces of what I would call outsider art made in Texas of Guadalupe. They are made of the inside of dresser drawers. So somebody disassembled a dresser to make these pieces. So whenever I see the images of Guadalupe, I think, man, this is for everyone. This is not the religion of the white colonizers. But that image was indicating that God sees all. And the final piece is a candelabra from the Ocomicho area of Mexico. It's the only one I've ever seen that's not based on the Tree of Life in the Garden of Eden. So this is the crucifixion scene. And this type of pottery is very colorful. Usually it's whimsical, but this is a very, very serious scene indeed. Mary is clutching at her son as he dies a brutal death.
Adoramus te, Christe, benedicimus tibi, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum, quia per crucem tuam redemisti mundum.
It was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour, for the sun stopped shining. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." When he said this, he breathed his last. The centurion, seeing what had happened, praised God and said, "Surely this was a righteous man." When all the people who had gathered to witness this sight saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. But all those who knew him, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. Now there was a man named Joseph, a member of the council, a good and upright man who had not consented to the decision and action. He came from the Judean town of Arimathea, and he was waiting for the kingdom of God. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body. Then he took it down, wrapped it in linen cloth, and placed it in a tomb, out in the rock, one in which no one had ever been laid.
We adore you, Jesus Christ, and we bless your holy name. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Truly your cross and passion bring us life and healing. Sunset to sunrise changes now, for God doth make his world anew. On the Redeemer's thorn-crowned brow, the wonders of that dawn we view. the sun withholds its light, lo, a more heavenly lamp shines here, and from the cross on Calvary's height gleams of eternity appear. Here in o'erwhelming final strife, the Lord of life hath victory, and sin is slain, and death brings life, and earth inherits heaven's key.